What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Scramble podcast presented to you by Old City Sports Network. I'm your host, Chet, and I'm joined by only one of my co hosts tonight, Mr. Tyler. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Yep, like you mentioned, Jacob is working the night shift at the lovely Home Depot, and Wade's trying to compete and bring home a championship for us. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll get a update from Wade midway through the show for his volleyball match. We have high hopes for him, even though they haven't won a match this year, but they are in the championship tournament, so that's good. Um, but yep, like Tyler said, Jacob's putting his work in at the Home Depot, and we'll see how much he's got to do his due diligence. As long as he's not watching on a forklift, he's good to go. But we have a special treat for y'all tonight. We've got NASCAR Neil live in person. Let's go ahead and add him to the stream. NASCAR Neil, how are you doing?
Doing good, guys. Doing good.
It's good. And I understand that you were at some live NASCAR racing last night or last week. How was
Yes,
that?
it was a good time. I was there for the Saturday Xfinity race, which was a fun, good race. I love watching that series. It's the series directly below the main Cup level, but I love the race in that series. It puts on a good show every week. And then I was at the Cup race on Sunday at the local Texas Motor Speedway.
Sweet. So what happened? I know it was last week, and they already had another one, but let's get your take from last week.
Last weekend's race was a relatively good race. That track is really, really bad. They've done some work on it over the years, and it's kind of degraded the quality of the racing. But there was major issues of teams kept on blowing right rear tires due to trying to gain a little bit of advantage because this track, turns 1 and 2 are configured differently than 3 and 4. So in order to maximize your speed in 3 and 4, you have to put a little risky in your setup and stuff. And teams were running lower air pressure than probably should have been. So right rears were blowing all night long, right in turn 4, which for me, I was all for it. I was sitting right at the entrance to pit road.
So you got to see just all the madness happening. People blowing tires.
It was fun. Right. It was a crazy wreck where Cody Ware, the 54 or 53 car, he blew a tire and ran into the wall in turn 4, then slid down pit road. Very scary wreck. The guy managed to get out of the car safely and walked away fine. Raced yesterday, but still, it was a very scary hit to see happen to you. He nearly hit the corner of the pit road wall where it goes into the garage area. Super scary, super dangerous, but he was fine. So that's what really matters.
Well, there you go. As long as he made it out safe. So that was what, week 2 or 3 of the playoffs? Was last week?
That was week 4 of the playoffs, the first race of the second round, because they do three rounds before they enter the championship.
So I know we had a playoff race last night. Who won that? What happened? And who's still left standing going forward?
So last night was won by Chase Elliott,
the
perennial favorite. He's the most popular driver. The guy's a dominant driver. It's one of his first really, I say, true super speedway race wins since he's gotten really good. He won Atlanta, which is considered a plate track, super speedway style. But winning yesterday, played it safe. It was a relatively tame race at Talladega, which is known for big wrecks, craziness. Only one wreck, which is
really that's kind of fun.
It really wasn't that big. A third line started forming in 1 and 2. And the rookie Harrison Burton hopped out of line to try to take advantage of it. The guy doesn't really have the skill quite there yet to make a move like that, and got loose. The guy behind him bumped into him, caused a pile up. It knocked him and Ty Gibbs out of the race and stuff. But the thing that I personally love in the sport is that they will always finish on at least 2 green flag laps, which a caution that if you're not, a car died coming off pit road. So they threw a yellow with about 10 to go when it came out. So they went green with 2 to go. Chase Elliott made a smart pass coming on the backstretch of turn 1 on the first of the 2 laps. Got in the front row, had Eric Jones at the 34 behind him pushing. And he had shown all day that he was a good pusher, which is key to winning a race like that. Made the moves, coming to the green flag, got the checkered. And at Talladega, it's also very unique that the start-finish line is at the very end of the tri-oval. So it's very late. Most tracks, it's in the middle of the front stretch, but Talladega's back end. So you get some craziness. People coming off 4, going 3-4 wide.
Yep.
And Ryan Blaney behind him got out of line, trying to make the move behind him, but he managed to carry the speed in there. and that one locks him into the next round of the playoffs and gave him 6 more playoff points going to the next round reset. So it's huge for him.
Yeah, for sure.
And with him, he had DNFs in the first races of the both rounds of the playoff. At Darlington, he had a bad issue that got knocked out. Then last week, he had a blown tire and did not finish the race. So it was good for him to get some momentum back and confidence back. That coming off that, he was not quite in a must-win situation going into last week and then this coming week, but he was very close to the cut line, which is never good.
Right. So who do we have left? Still in the playoffs. Doesn't it restart?
It resets after this coming weekend at the Charlotte Roval.
Okay.
And stuff. And
who's still
currently
in contention?
I will tell you, there's 8 drivers currently above the cut line. It is Chase Elliott, who's locked in. Ryan Blaney is sitting second in the points. Ross Chastain's third. Denny Hamlin fourth. Joey Logano 5th. Kyle Larson is 6th. Suarez is 7th. And Chase Briscoe is tied at 8th. But however, William Byron got a penalty after last week for an incident during the race. He hit another driver under caution, but they appealed that penalty, which was a 25-point penalty, which currently puts him 15 points below the cut line. So, but if they win their appeal on Thursday, he will be back sitting at seventh place above the seventh place in the playoffs right now.
Okay,
so that could happen Thursday. I'm not really believing it when the appeal. Teams don't almost ever win their appeals. Really, it's very rare that it happens.
Right.
But still, that's something to think about and have there.
So a little bit of drama in the NASCAR playoffs here. So there's 8 left, and we've got.
There's 12 left, but after next week it goes down to 8. So I read off the people who are currently above the cut line.
And then it goes from like 8 to 4, right? So we've
got a few weeks left. There's a 3-race stretch at Homestead, Miami, Vegas, and Martinsville, and then after that they go down to 4 for Phoenix in the championship race.
Okay, well maybe we'll have to get you out to the championship race so we can find you some tickets out there. Tyler,
it's in Phoenix, so it's a bit ways out there.
Tyler, before I ask you this next question, I got an assignment for you. I need you to look up the odds for the favorite to win the NASCAR championship real quick, if you can do that. Neil, who's your favorite to take home the cup there at the end? I
said Chase Elliott at the start of the playoffs. If you get back to our episode we had back then, the guy's very talented driver. He's locked in the next round. He almost has enough points where he can run around mid pack the following the race the next round and still make it because he has so many points he's carried in from his 5 wins this year. The guy's got the points to carry him in where he can have a bad race. But granted, we've said that the last 2 rounds where he had DNFs, the first 2 races, a thing. But
that hurts a little bit in the point.
But every round it's a full reset back to how you started, plus any points you occur during that playoff round. Like he got 6-point points yesterday for the win.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so he's sitting pretty good right now.
So Tyler, who's the all odds favorite? Is it Chase Elliott?
Yeah, it's Chase Elliott at plus 225.
Hey, that's pretty good odds when you're the favorite. You might sprinkle a little bit of money there on him, Neil.
I did that at the start of the playoffs actually. So
hey, well maybe you got to make some higher odds. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean his odds have actually stayed about the same, surprisingly enough. Like he's been consistently. He won it. He was the champion 2 years ago. His teammate won it last year. So it's sitting very good for him and his organization.
Okay. Well, you sent me some pictures from when you were there last week. So we'll have to post them with your recap from the race. Get you some love out there on social media.
Yeah, it is also fun because there's a good event done by the social media people of NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
You have a reporter from Fox Sports, which owns the first half of the season broadcast rights. Then Jeff Gluck from The Athletic. Every race, they do a meetup with fans. You can go and meet up and talk to them, ask them questions and whatnot. And I got to attend that last Sunday. It was nice talking to him. I love Bob Pockris. He's the person I tell anybody who wants to get into this, fall in the sport, follow him on Twitter. You get anything and everything you need to know about what's going on. He has updates. He is phenomenal. Then Gluck is also great reporter, does a good job, puts out good articles on the sport. So it's nice to meet them, talk to them,
And you got to meet one of your hometown guys.
I did actually. I'm wearing a guy named Josh Berry. He's from Middle Tennessee and stuff. He guesses his first time full season in the Xfinity Series. They're doing a meet and greet, and I got him to sign my hat because this is from a special race last month called at North Wilkesboro. It's an old racetrack that from back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. They brought it back for some late model racing, and the great Dale Earnhardt Jr. decided to run it. Mm-hmm. Brought back his old scheme from when he ran that series ran that style of car in the 90s with Sundrop and stuff, got them back on board. And Josh Berry, who was the guy, he crew chiefed the race because he ran in that series for a long time for Dale Jr.'s organization and stuff. It's like, hey, I need to stop my hat. You're the crew chief of this race. Y'all did good. You got third place. I got to do it. And he's like, oh, he was all honored. And I'm like, I told him, that where I'm from, Middle Tennessee, it's very much like South Louisiana. It's all one group. You support everybody from there. So I was
exactly.
Hey, that you make the mid-state proud. He was all nice and appreciated. It was fun to meet him. So
that's pretty cool. So you got to meet some guys from your hometown.
Yeah.
Well, Neil, I know you're a big brewery guy, and you got plenty of them that you visit in Dallas. So I had to make sure that the NASCAR Neil segment was brought to you by Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company here in Houston. I enjoyed a few beers there Friday, took in some views of the city. Neil, next time you're in Houston, we'll have to get you there.
I'm going to try some, man, next time I'm down there.
Plenty of IPAs to choose from.
Or if you bring me some next time you're around,
Might have to. I know you've got some of your favorite spots there in Houston.
I got favorite spots here in Dallas, a favorite spot in New Orleans. My favorite beers out of New Orleans.
You're a big brewery guy. Actually,
I am.
We're going to give you a little bit of an insight because we're doing a giveaway with them. We have a giveaway winner to announce, and we have another giveaway we're going to do. So you get to stay tuned on this, and maybe you get some insight.
I'll try it out.
So we'll do it. We got salmon. I say salmon, but you know what? It's October now. It's pink. Breast cancer awareness shirt for Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company. We're giving away. I'm going to announce the winner right now. We did a little contest, so you had to leave a comment on our Apple Podcast, leave a review, and I picked a random person. It's actually Elise, so it works out well for her. So Elise H13 left us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star. These guys know a lot about sports and keep it interesting and fun. A must listen. So Elise will get your shirt out in the mail. And actually, to announce the second giveaway, we got another shirt right here. If you didn't see it here in a second. Pink shirt, Breast Cancer Awareness Month for October. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to follow us on Twitter at SportsScramble4. Follow Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company at Buff Brew, and then retweet that tweet. We'll pick a random retweeter, and maybe somebody want a shirt. Maybe it'll be NASCAR Neil. Maybe it'll be another loyal listener. We'll see. So, but Neil, it was great hearing from you again.
No problem.
One last question for you: who's winning the national championship in college football?
Maybe probably Georgia, maybe. But I know, and y'all know me.
Georgia looked a little weak this weekend on Missouri, but you think they're going to be able to turn it around? I
think so. I'm going to add this to y'all. I know most of your listeners know me as NASCAR Neil, but y'all two know me as my previous life and stuff. And I'm making my first trip back to Baton Rouge for a game since I left the program.
So are you going this weekend against Tennessee?
I am coming down there.
Oh, you better wake up early.
I'm coming down there. It's a family trip. They got canceled the last couple of years. My brother-in-law is a big Tennessee fan. He's been talking smack to me ever since Saturday night. Our game wasn't even over yet. He's already talking stuff to me. So I was like, and he's coming to his first game in Death Valley, so it's going to be a fun trip.
Okay, well, that's going to be – I hate that it's his first game is at 11 a.m. Wish he could experience the nighttime. What's your prediction for the game?
I think we win. It's going to be a close. I mean, we've been playing like bad the first half, but I don't know. It's going to be weird because I'm not going to be able to watch. I'll have to be honest with you, I probably will not be watching much of the game. I'll be watching my old co-workers and friends from my previous life. It's been hard to watch games much alone this year, but not looking at the sidelines and watching the people who make it
possible for sure.
And it was my life for 6 years, doing it, cutting my teeth. So I know y'all your listeners probably don't know much about it, but at some point you have me on talking about it.
For those that don't know, Neil was equipment manager for LSU football team all through college. He was on the famous 2019 national championship team. Best buddies with Joe Burrow, probably Justin Jefferson, Jamar, the whole crew. They're
Coach
Neil's boys. Leonard Fournette, Coach O. We used to run into Leonard Fournette on campus, but I understand you're going to be at the game, but you're going to be watching your boys do their job.
I'm visiting Thursday night for our little our tradition that we used to always do. I used to always be a part of. It's gonna be fun popping back in as an alumni. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, hey, don't stay out too late on Friday night. You got to wake up plenty early to make it to that game. Or you just don't sleep and you let the party roll.
That works too.
Well, Neil, it was a pleasure having you on as always. So you heard it here first, folks. Chase Elliott to win, LSU to win this weekend, and Georgia to win the national championship. All your locks from NASCAR, Neil. So, Neil, we'll have you on again in a few weeks, maybe when they make that cut line. Besides that, have a good rest of your night. Tune
All
into
right.
the rest of the stream, buddy.
You too. All right,
See
bye,
ya.
guys.
So that was NASCAR, Neil. Always fun to have him on the show. But Tyler, we got into the college football talk with him. We might as well go ahead and break right into it. That's what everybody's waiting for. So we had some crazy college football games this weekend. What was your craziest that you saw?
The craziest was my upset pick last week. I called it once again. I'm 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. So I think it's I'm actually not the upset specialist. I think now
You're right.
As long as I don't lose. Yeah, I mean, I expected TCU to win this game, but I mean, you're crazy to say that put up 55 points against an
Yeah, I
Oklahoma
didn't expect
defense.
that.
Yeah,
That was
I didn't
crazy.
expect that to be like a big of a blowout because at one point it was like 45-17.
Yeah, I think they scored 41 in the first half.
Yeah,
So
they did. So, I mean, TCU, I mean, they had an impressive win this past weekend against SMU the prior week before, hosting Oklahoma. And then Oklahoma now is 3-2, and they had to face Texas in the Red River game, which always gets a lot of hype. But this year, I mean, if you lose, you're out of the Big 12 race already because you
and
already
if you
have.
win, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because, I mean, you can still make it to the Big 12 championship. Texas's two losses, one of their losses was against Texas Tech and the other was against Alabama. For Oklahoma's sake, though, their two losses are already in the Big 12. They lost to K-State and TCU. So Oklahoma is already out, in my opinion. I think that Oklahoma State, Kansas, or TCU are probably going to be the three teams. So definitely TCU's win at home was very impressive and it wasn't really shocking, but just the margin of defeat was shocking to me.
Well, I liked your upset pick, but I was a little weary to take it because, they beat SMU the week before, TCU did, but they struggled a little bit and it was a little closer there at the end. And I figured Oklahoma just lost to Kansas State, and they're going to be pretty fired up and they're going to want to win this game. They're going to prove something. And they just didn't look good. It's Clemson's old defensive coordinator. That's the head coach
Yeah,
over there.
that's what's
right?
very shocking. I mean, Brent Venables is defensive minded himself. Clemson was one of the top 10 defenses every year that he was there. And now, we had the same problems with this Oklahoma team. They had the quarterback to score in this one. Dylan Gabriel was knocked out in this game with an injury, was a targeting penalty. But this Oklahoma team just really looks lost on defense for the past couple of weeks, ever since the Nebraska game. They just look lost. And, the offense, they put up 24 points, but you're not going to win many ball games giving up 55.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's just shocking. I mean, Oklahoma's always had historically a bad defense, but you would think hiring a defensive-minded coach, like you were saying on Coast to Coast, that they would have a better defense this year. And it just doesn't look like it. Without their quarterback, I don't know. I think Oklahoma may try to play victors to Texas spoils, but really, in reality, all Texas is playing for now is to possibly win the Big 12. That Red River rivalry is going to be interesting when they come into the SEC, because if Arch Manning brings Texas back, they're going to be playing Oklahoma for a spot in the championship. They're going to play Alabama every year, most likely for a spot in the championship. Hopefully, LSU will be beating them every year for a spot in the championship. We'll see. But, I mean, that was one of the craziest games. Well, not really a crazy game, more of like just an upset domination. And then the other upset was Mississippi State over A&M. Did I pick A&M or I picked Mississippi State to
No,
win?
yeah, we all picked Mississippi State.
A&M just hasn't looked great. They got gifted a win against Arkansas. They play Alabama next week, and you never know what's going to happen there. But after last week, I think Alabama is going to absolutely blow the doors off them. What do you think?
Yeah, very impressed with Mississippi State in this one. They just got off a win of Bowling Green. A&M, on the other hand, reeling off of a big win in Arlington against Arkansas. I mean, Mississippi State just absolutely dominated this game. I mean, Max Johnson really struggled in this one. I mean, the only really offense really going for Texas A&M is Devin Achane as the running back. He had over 100 yards rushing once again, but I mean, Mississippi State and Will Rogers was just very dominant. I think the defense as well, the one main play that really took them apart was that field goal block that Mississippi State ran back for a touchdown. I mean, at one point it was 42-14. It was pretty much over. A&M was able to get a garbage time touchdown, but man, Mississippi State is definitely deserving of where they're ranked, number 23. They still have, Georgia left on their schedule, Alabama, they have Arkansas at home this week. So, they have, the key, the quality opponents left on their schedule that can pick up some wins. So, honestly, I would not count out this Mississippi State team, to potentially, be a contender in the SEC West.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely looked good. The offense was firing. They had 55 plays to A&M's 15 at halftime. A&M had 15 offensive plays at halftime. I mean, that is just sorry. All these A&M's. I mean, I don't understand how they continue to rank A&M in the top 10. And I live in Houston. I have to deal with this all the time. I mean, these A&M, these fans, they come out of the woodwork every year vouching for their team to be ranked top 10. We're going to win the SEC. It's our year. And Jimbo Fisher continues to let them down. He's owed $95 million if they fire him. I don't think they fire him because that's just way too much money. But something I did see, I don't know if you saw this, they towed his truck out of his parking spot when they left to go to Starkville. So he came back and his truck was gone. It was in the tow lot. So, I mean, do you think that was planned? Maybe the tow truck driver knew what was happening and said, you know what, Jimbo, you're out of here, or was it an honest mistake?
It probably was an honest mistake. And like you said, I don't expect them to fire Jimbo anytime soon because that would be a hefty a heavy payout for him to fire him. I mean, Texas A&M, the university has the money, but like you mentioned, like I really didn't see the hype for Texas A&M in the first place. I know the quarterback competition was between Haynes King and Max Johnson, and those are just average quarterbacks right there. And the defense was supposed to be pretty good, but you just gave up 42 points to Mississippi State, so that's definitely concerning as they face now Bryce Young and an Alabama offense that just put up 49 points. So, I mean,
we think it's going to be Bryce Young. He's day to day right now, but honestly, I wouldn't be too upset if Jalen Milroe was playing.
Yeah, the backup looked pretty good. He had that long, almost a touchdown run. Yep. Arkansas was able to get him, but I mean, CBS picked this as a primetime game, but honestly, it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I want to talk about this Jalen Milroe guy. He looks like freaking Derrick Henry Jr. back there playing quarterback. The dude's like 6'2", a whopping like 220. I mean, he is built, and he is basically a running back there. I was shocked with how good he could throw the ball. You can already tell he can run it. I mean, he's basically a running back out of Katy, Texas, not far from my house. I know these Texas A&M fans are going to be regretting this week that he didn't stay home.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking very good. I mean, once Bryce Young is eligible for the NFL draft, so he'll probably be a first rounder this week. But Alabama fans,
that Saints tank for Bryce.
Well, we'll get that to later. But Alabama fans, after Bryce Young, you really got to look forward to the future here. We saw like his arm, like you mentioned, he has a cannon of an arm. He can also be, he's fast. Like hardly no one caught him. Like
especially for being that big. I was shocked with how fast he was.
Yeah, so that's going to be tough for SEC defenses next year and the next couple of years to try and game plan against that guy because it seems like he can do anything, and especially he has a build like Derrick Henry. He's going to be a tough one to tackle.
People always think, oh, Alabama started quarterbacks out. They've got nobody. They're done. You got to remember, Alabama puts up so many points every week. They're starting quarterback plays or their backup plays every week, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. He's got in-game snaps, even if it's against the second team. Okay, let's kick it back to the Big 12 here for a second. You've got Kansas, undefeated, who you have called for vastly to be ranked. Ranked Kansas. They hold off Iowa State to stay unbeaten. Iowa State's kicker missed 3 field goals. They win 14-11. Do you still think they deserve to be ranked, or are they on the outside looking in this week?
Well, Kansas is now officially ranked in the AP.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Top 25 poll. They're at 19 right now. That was a very wacky game. I mean, it was actually good for Kansas because I know that their offense has been really legit in the past couple of weeks. And now that they've shown, in the past, like whenever the offense doesn't show up, they get blown out. That's the whole Kansas. Now that the Kansas this season, they won a game where their defense really stepped up. I mean, this was an Iowa State team that's been able to put up points. They put up 20 points against a very good Iowa defense. I mean, like you mentioned, the kicker rows continue both in the collegiate and the NFL level.
This has got to be the most field goals in college and NFL football in a season combined.
Yeah, but now Kansas looks ahead to College game day coming to town for Lawrence, and they face none other than TCU, who's also undefeated and ranked in the top 25. So that's going to be a big matchup. I think whoever wins that will control their destiny to reach the Big 12 championship.
So you got the Big 12, 3 undefeated teams: TCU, Kansas, and Oklahoma State, right? Is there
Yes.
anyone else? Okay,
No,
so
that's it.
Big 12 is looking a lot better than Pac-12 for a playoff spot. We'll see what happens there. They just got to move up in the rankings. Another SEC team. We're SEC biased here. Don't hate. Kentucky. They gave that game away to Ole Miss. That was a heck of a game. Fumbled twice by the quarterback. That can't happen. Gave up a safety. Ole Miss ends up winning. What was it? 21-19. It was
It was 22-19, some
22.
wacky score.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? I mean, that was Ole Miss's really first test against a good Kentucky team, and Ole Miss takes on. Help me out. Who do they play next week?
They play Vanderbilt on the road.
Okay. Well, never mind. I was gonna say maybe they have another tough one, but Vanderbilt had a little bit of a spark there at the beginning of the season. Can't count them out. What do you think? Is Ole Miss the real deal this year? Are they contending against an Alabama here in a few weeks?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday on College Football Coast to Coast. Jacob and I really agree that, everyone was talking about, Arkansas being that team in the SEC West. I honestly think it's Ole Miss. Then not only do they have the rushing game and the attack on the offensive side, but they also have really good defense. I mean, Will Levis was on a streak of 300-yard passing yards per game. And
That's
then
that land shark defense, baby.
yeah,
Gotta
he
watch
just
out
gets
for him.
absolutely shut down. I mean, Ole Miss, when you looked at this, was up 14-0 in this one. Chris Rodriguez, the return of him for Kentucky. And like you mentioned, the turnovers was just too much. The last 4 Kentucky drives, 4 of them were all turnovers. Every last drive.
You can't win a game.
You can't win a game. They almost did, actually. They, Will Levis,
Yeah, he turned it over again.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it into the end zone.
Well, yeah, and then he found an open receiver. It was at like the 20-yard line of Ole Miss. So honestly, they should have just kicked the field goal there, but instead they tried, get too cute on it, and Will Levis fumbled, and that was all she wrote. So a very good win for Ole Miss, and they do have some tough games coming up. You still have, LSU on the road. You do have Alabama at home, so that's good. So I think that, Ole Miss, like Mississippi State, and even possibly LSU, if they win this weekend, could be a threat to Alabama.
Yeah, so you talked about turnovers. You can't win a game with that many turnovers. We got to talk about the LSU game.
Yeah.
We're waiting to talk about it. Honestly, I hate to say this. Auburn probably should have won that game, but they had 4 turnovers to our 1. So, I mean, that's to show you can't win a game off turnovers. LSU's offense looked abysmal passing-wise, 85 yards passing with 2 quarterbacks, and we still managed to win. Rushing game's looking good. What did you think? You talked about it last week. We had to get the running game started early, and we did, and it wasn't all Jaden Daniels. What did you think of the running game last week for LSU?
Yeah, it was surprising, early on we saw a majority of Noah Kane, and then, in the second half we saw John Emery. I mean, that 20-yard touchdown
Emery
run.
high-stepping it into the end zone.
That's just his signature. He's been doing that every time that he's in the end zone. But that was just a big boy run. And the fact that, he
got
like
face
the Auburn
mask.
defender, like he was like turning like this way for a second.
Emery basically had his helmet on backwards.
Yeah.
And it still managed to get into the end zone.
Yeah, pretty much. But I honestly disagree with you. I think that LSU deserved to win this game. I mean, they were down 17-0. They were dead in the water. I mean, I know that you texted me, like you called it, like this is going to be another comeback for LSU. Like we saw the same thing back in, I believe it was like 2017 when LSU was down 20-0 in that game. And then DJ Chark got that, punt return. Yeah. So, I mean, this was just a typical LSU Auburn game. I mean, a lot of people are calling this for be a blowout, but I never saw it. I mean, this is a rivalry game. It
wasn't even a blowout when we played them in 2019. We won by 3 points with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like I mentioned, I mean, Robbie Ashford, you got to give credit to him. I don't know if you watched the broadcast, but it was his birthday
I saw
on that day. It was like over under set in like 10 times. But yeah, this was a really good win. I mean, Auburn, won the past 2 years against this LSU team. Obviously, last year, Bo Nix, running around, making
last LSU game I've been to was that game.
Really?
Haven't been back since.
Well, they got to make it a one. Hopefully, it's a win.
Yeah.
But yeah, a great win. Obviously, like you mentioned, Jaden Daniels, 85 passing yards. If you're going to beat a high-powered Tennessee team, then you can't do that. If you do that same thing, then you're going to get blown out.
So here's my big key for us next week. We're playing at home. Yeah, it's an 11 a.m. game, but we got Tiger Stadium behind us. The offense has got to get started early. The defense has bailed us out the past 2 SEC games with State and Auburn. We've gone down 13-0 and 17-0. Defense scored the first points last week. They had that scoop and score for 7, which was a little iffy there. I was surprised that they gave it to us. I thought it was a pass, and then I just didn't argue it. I was like, oh, okay, that's a touchdown. Cool. We'll take it. And then, of course, that's when Jay Daniels kind of kicked it on, drove down the field. We scored. That was a nice little move by him, too. I thought he was throwing it to Mason Taylor out there in the flat, and he'd get a little cut back in for a touchdown. But they scored 21 unanswered points, which is great. But I don't think 21 is going to beat Tennessee. We got to put up some numbers early, get the running game going, like you were saying, and let the defense do their job. The defense has looked great all season. Florida State was a little iffy. That was week 1. If you think about it, this LSU team is a missed extra point away from an undefeated season right now. That's hurt. That hurts because they've got us ranked as 25, finishing like second to last in the SEC West. We missed an extra point and we missed a field goal to end that Florida State game, and we're 4-1. So what do you think about that? Do you think we keep it rolling versus Tennessee? I know Wade picked Tennessee to win, but that's okay because when all 3 of us pick LSU to win, it doesn't work out good. So we'll let him take the sacrifice on that one. But what do you think? What are our keys? Or what's your score prediction? We'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to give my keys first. I'd
Okay.
love to give the keys to the game since I'm just a big
DJ
analytics
Khaled
guy.
right there, baby. Keys.
But like you mentioned, I mean, this LSU offense is in need of a fast start. I mean, this is a high-powered Tennessee offense. They rank in the top 3 in all of NCAA. Hendon Hooker pretty much is the same build, but more bulkier than Jane Daniels. He can take some hits. He's a really good passer. He had over 400 yards passing against Florida the last time out. Then he had over 100 yards. He was their leading rusher. So, yeah, LSU's defense is going to be in for a long day. I think it's definitely going to be a high-scoring shootout. I think that LSU's offense will be able to match. I think, like you mentioned, like you said, like the running game was the key for the Auburn game. I think in this one, the passing game has to get going. You got to find your guys. Keyshawn Butte,
he's non-existent on the football field.
I think this is where you're going to see him step up. I think that Malik Neighbors is also going to have a big game. Looks like Jaden Daniels, that's his favorite target as well. But like you mentioned, it's at home. I'm going to give us the win here. I think that it's at Death Valley. It was a crazy game that Tennessee, remember last time back in 2010 that they came here with 13 men on the field, and then I believe it was Spencer Ridley, somebody. I think it was, I don't remember the running back at the time.
It was Jordan Jefferson who was quarterback.
Yeah.
And that just tell you everything, right?
But I'm going to give us 35-31 win. I think that this is going to be, the program building win that Brian Kelly needs, and he's going to, look forward to building that in this season.
Look, Brian Kelly, I know you're listening to the show right now, okay? Put Jack Besh back at tight end. Let him play tight end. He is a matchup nightmare against the linebackers. Sure, Mason Taylor's good and he can catch the ball. He can't block. He barely catches the ball half the time, but he's Jane Daniels' favorite target for some reason. Put Jack Besh in at tight end. Let him run in the short routes. Let him run the flats, and that'll be great. You could just feed him, open Booty up for the long, or I'm sorry, Booty, as we've been corrected. Open Booty up for the long touchdowns, and just let your boy cook back there. I text you this every game because it's like the first possession, flats to Mason Taylor. He drops it. I text you every week. Put Jack Besh back in at tight end. I will not get off that high horse. I want him back at tight end.
So one more thing about Tennessee before we go on. I think, looking at the first couple of weeks, they played Pittsburgh and Florida, and, their defense really struggled against Florida. I mean, Tennessee really –
it was a high-scoring game.
It was a high-scoring game. Anthony Richardson was the leading passer in that one. He had over 400 yards passing. That's why the pass game is crucial. I think that the weakness for this Tennessee defense is in the secondary. There's a lot of young guys there. Same thing with LSU. There's a lot of young guys on that defense as well. So if the passing game can get going, then they have a chance. But, you can't just put it all in the running game. You have to, take deep shots because you might have to do score for score because Tennessee's offense is going to be able to score.
Jaden's got to hit his looks. He's got to look at different receivers.
And you can't just take off and run every time.
2 weeks ago, he did a good job of that. Last week, it was a little iffy. I did see him go through his progression some, but the flow of the game, the running game worked better. and we got out with the win. So this week, Jaden, I know you're watching down there in Baton Rouge, look at your guys, okay? Look at your guys and let it fly. All right, so that's our little LSU prediction. Tyler's got the Tigers taking home the dub over the Volunteers. We can't leave out Futch, even though he's working. Penn State was a little slow against Northwestern this week, but they got the win. He still got the beard. I didn't have to shave my beard to a mustache, which I was talking with him today. He was like, "Oh no, if they lose Tennessee this week, you have to shave." I was like, Fudge. It was a 1 week bet because I don't plan on shaving it. But Tyler, Penn State, you think they can still beat Ohio State after what you saw last weekend?
Yeah, I was looking at that score too, to figure out what went wrong in that game against Penn State, and I figured what went wrong. Mother Nature was not in Penn
Nope.
State's or Northwestern's favor. It was a torrential downpour. It was the remnants of Hurricane Ian. It made its way up to the Northeast. Definitely, our thoughts and prayers go out to the state of Florida as they're recovering from that. We sure know what
For sure.
they're going through with the storms that we've been through. But Penn State, I'm not really worried about them. Once they got a lot of turnovers both on these teams. I mean, Penn State had 5 turnovers and Northwestern had 3. So this was just a defensive onslaught. I mean, Mother Nature, the passing games couldn't get going, so they had to turn to Nick Singleton once again. So Penn State's going to go in the bye week, still undefeated. They're now in the top 10, right at number 10. And then, this is where their season is really going to be in the next 3 weeks. You have Michigan on the road, Minnesota at home, and then you have the big one, Ohio State. So even if you go like 2-1 or even undefeated, then they could probably potentially be a Big Ten East winner. Or honestly, if you go 3-0, you might be the number 1 team in the land right there.
Yep. So if you want to, you mentioned the Hurricane Ian relief. If you want to donate for Hurricane Ian relief, you can go on over to redcross.org and donate if you're able to. But yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to them for sure. It impacted a lot of games, but in the end, we just hope that everybody is able to recover from this because, as Tyler mentioned, we have a lot of experience with our hurricanes being from where we're at. So, okay, that was our college football. Our college football recap and look forward into next week was brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our link below. We love being affiliates with Fanatics. I'm on there all the time looking at their daily deals. I don't know what the coupon code is right now. Tyler can pull it up here in a second. New coupon code every day. I'm looking to get a new LSU polo. I've got all the ones from college. I need some new updated gear now that I've got a job, making some money. Maybe we'll get some money from this podcast. We can all get us some sick polos going forward. But Tyler, what's the daily code on Fanatics right now?
The daily code is FALL, FALL, all uppercase, and you have 3 hours and 23 minutes before that. But Don't worry about it. I mean, Fanatics is always doing daily deals. You can get up to pretty much 65% off site-wide every day. So a very good site, and they definitely have some good gear, especially, with the college football season underway, NFL, and then MLB, postseason coming up. So definitely a good time to get your gear right now.
Yeah, and if you use our link, it takes you directly to the college football website. And if you want, you can navigate to any team from there. But go on over to fanatics.93n6tx.net/scramble and use our link. Help us out. We are so happy to be affiliates with Fanatics. So moving on from our college football recaps, we've got our upset picks for the week. So you mentioned your upset pick, TCU versus Oklahoma. You were right. I had Alabama. I had Arkansas over Alabama. I was unfortunately wrong. I was looking like I was going to be right there for a split minute, and then it went the other way. Wade had Kentucky over Ole Miss. He was also wrong. Remind me who Jacob had.
Oh boy, I can't even remember, honestly.
Oh, Iowa over Michigan.
Yes,
he was also wrong. Rough week for us.
1-3, but we'll see if we can get it back. We'll have to get their upset picks as well. That way we can put out that weekly graphic that we do.
Hey, we're at a 500, 7-7. We went 4-0, 2-2, and 1-3. 7-7 through 3 weeks. Not bad. Pretty good. I want to get back to, hey, Jeff Wilson just scored in the Monday Night Football game. He's my starting running back.
Yeah, we definitely need to get to some fantasy football talk once we get to NFL. That's for sure.
Yes, for sure. So there's been a lot of things going on. But 7-7 in upset picks. So looking good. Tyler, who's your upset pick this week?
My upset pick is I'm going to put my trust on my alma mater here. I'm going to put Tennessee on upset alert. I think, LSU, this is what I said at College Football Coast to Coast. It can be 6 a.m., 11 a.m., or midnight. LSU fans are going to be wild. It's going to be
They are going to
loud.
be drunk at 11 a.m. I can promise
Yes,
you
they're going to
that.
be either drinking their mimosas or they're going to be just drinking their Bud Light or Daddy Lights. Or, if they, head on down to Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company, they'll be drinking that as well. But I'm going to put the Volunteers. I did a preview on Gridiron Heroics. I had this one as a win. I just felt like this was, it was sandwiched in between two games. They're coming off a physical game. And then Tennessee has the advantage in this one. They're coming off of a bye, but it's in Death Valley. It's hard to beat. I think it's going to be the same environment like it was last year against Florida. It was the same pretty much atmosphere. 11 a.m. It was rowdy. It was a high-scoring shootout. So I think it's going to be similar to that game. I don't think it's going to get into the 40s, but I'm going to go with LSU upsetting Tennessee.
I like to hear it. So my upset pick this week is a team that's also played LSU, and they actually beat LSU week 1. We got Florida State taking on NC State. NC State lost to Clemson last week. I had NC State winning the ACC. They sure don't look like it, but they're still ranked. Florida State is moving up in the rankings. They're 4-1 so far. I think Florida State's going to get it done. Their quarterback has been playing great lately. And I think with this being a big ACC matchup, they're able to get the win over NC State while they're still licking their wounds over Clemson. So, upset picks brought to you by our other sponsor, Righteous Felon Jerky. You can head on over to righteousfelon.com to get your jerky fix. Use code OCSN for 15% off. I got to order some more. I ran out. Normally I have a bag to show y'all, but I've eaten it all. So, but especially if you do build their bundle, you get like 3 or 6 bags, get 10% off. Use our code for 15% off, get 25% off. And you know how that all works. We're all about the deals here on Sports Scramble. So you go over to righteousfelon.com, use promo code OCSN to get 15% off. And if anybody, misses these promo codes on our show, we're tweeting them out every week on Twitter. We're doing little fun things with our sponsors. So, all right, Tyler. Last thing for college football before we head on over to the pros. Well, first, before we get to this, how do you feel about these Aaron Judge cut-ins on our college football games? I hate it too.
Especially, the last couple of weekends, it's really been like
he's been walked every freaking at bat. Nobody cares.
I was watching the Tulane Houston game. The damn game was literally, in the fourth quarter.
It went into like double overtime, and they're showing Aaron Judge at bat.
Yeah, Houston was up. Tulane was driving. Tulane ended up winning that game. Heck of a win for Tulane. I mean, that's a team that's going to be making some noise. But yeah, I mean, if I wanted to watch, the Yankees and Aaron Judge, I would be going to watch the Yankees and Aaron Judge. So ESPN, stop with this bull crap of trying to, force Aaron Judge on me. If he gets 62 home runs, congratulations for him. But I'm watching college football in the fall.
Yeah. So what they originally were doing was like just taking the game off the screen and putting up the Yankees game. And I was like, what? And now they've gotten to where it's like a picture-in-picture.
Yeah, it's a split screen.
A little better, but no. Look, if he hits the home run, just show it on the commercial break. Show the replay, okay? Because I promise you, if you're watching a college football game, you don't care what Aaron Judge does. You can check Twitter or SportsCenter later that night and see that he hit the 60-second home run in the AL. It's not like it's the all-time record. It's the AL record, which, yeah, is impressive. But no one wants to see Aaron Judge pop onto your screen when your team's driving about to win the game like Tulane was doing. So that's all I got to say about that. I'll hop off my soapbox. Playoff predictions. Who do you got? Way too early, but who do you got for the playoff predictions?
Yeah, mine is very drastically changed. I'm going to have 2 of the teams that are not there anymore. I'm going to have some new faces. Number 1 is going to be the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think that they're going to be undefeated. I think that, a lot of people were very concerned with this team after the Texas game. I'm not concerned with them anymore. They're playing like the Alabama, like usual. They're just blowing the doors off of Arkansas. Now they get A&M, which they'll probably blow the doors off of them. So I think they're really next test. Obviously, I want to say, the LSU game because, the LSU played them close last year when LSU sucked. And then I think that the Ole Miss game, that's probably going to be their best, chance to get upset. But I'm going to go Alabama 1. I'm actually going to go change it up here. I changed this up. I thought about it. the more. I did like Ohio State, but they do play Penn State on the road in Happy Valley. You know that crowd is very raucous. So I think that Penn State is going to ultimately get into the playoff. I think that they either split the games between Michigan and Ohio State or just go undefeated. So I think that's going to be enough to vault them in. And then I'm going to go 3, Clemson. I don't really see them losing a game at this point. They got the majority of their hard games out the way. I think the only teams that could potentially beat them is Florida State and Notre Dame left on their schedule. But I have them going undefeated, win the ACC. They're pretty much a lock right now, in my opinion. And then number 4, I'm going to go with the USC Trojans. I think they finally get it done. It's either going to be between the Big 12 champion winner, which I could see being Oklahoma State. I just think that with USC and their offense, I potentially could see them losing at Utah, but Utah has been an up and down team. But I'm going to go with USC getting that last spot.
So I've changed mine in the past 20 seconds on what I told you at the beginning of the show. I've got Georgia 1, okay, Ohio State 2. We're going to go Oklahoma State 3. I think they're going to be the winners of the Big 12. And like you said, it's going to come down to the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I think the Big 12 has a tougher strength of schedule. They'll get in. And then 4, we're going to go Clemson. I think they may drop a game, but I think they'll sneak in again. So as you noticed, Alabama is not included in that list because I think not only does LSU beat them come November 6th or 7th, I think Ole Miss beats them as well, and they drop 2 games, and it ends up being okay. If I want a perfect world, LSU's in the SEC West for the playoffs, but it's probably going to be Ole Miss playing Georgia, and I think Georgia takes the cake on that one. But I could see Ole Miss dropping a game before the end of the season. To who? I don't know yet. But we got Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and Clemson are my top 4 this year. It's probably going to change next week, but we'll see. So let's get into some NFL talk. We had last Thursday night, our boy Joey B with the Bengals, Jamar Chase taking on Tua and Jalen Waddle. So it was like 2019 all over again. Tua had a scary head injury, gets hits his head on the ground. He's in like a seized up position, obvious concussion, stretchered off to the nearest hospital. Tyler, he had the same thing happen the week before, and they cleared him to play this week. And since then, that doctor that cleared him has been fired by the NFL Players Association. They've had a whole new thing open up with NFLPA and NFL and the concussion protocol. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, obviously, Tua shouldn't have been out there, but what do they need to do? I guess it's football. I mean, things happen, but you got to know the signs of concussion. What do you think they need to do to better protect some of these players? And the same thing happened with LSU. You can talk about that with the first play of the game, kickoff.
Yeah, you got to take these things more seriously. I know that, the Dolphins were undefeated at the time. They were trying to stay undefeated, and beat the Bengals. But, you got to put that all aside. I mean, I know that we root for these guys. They're professional players, but these guys are still humans. They're just like us. I mean, it was just a very scary injury. I mean, Tua, in the last week, and we were talking about on the show, how he was like, woozy and, barely,
stumbled, fell to the ground.
Off the field, and, you saw the report like, okay, Tua has been clear. Like, okay, so he's good to go. Well, obviously he wasn't good to go. So I'm glad that that doctor is fired and won't have to do that again. So it's already been deemed that Tua won't play this weekend. So, prayers up for him. I know Tua in college has been dealing with injuries. It's just very bad. He's a very talented player. So hopefully he can get healthy, and that way the Dolphins can have a good year and, compete for, AFC East title.
Yeah, and we had some good news out of LSU with Sevian Banks. Well, not great news, but it's not life-threatening. I don't think they said if he sustained a concussion. I'm sure he did based on that hit on the kickoff, stretcher to the hospital.
It's like a spinal cord.
Yeah, bruise. So he's got a spinal cord. Yeah,
5-6 weeks.
Bruise out for next 5 to 6 weeks, expecting to make a full recovery. So that's good. I haven't heard the same thing. It was a scary weekend for this because the same thing happened in the Saints game when they played the Vikings. And it was actually on the other side of the ball. Taysom Hill lowered his shoulder into the Vikings defender and about knocked the guy out. He got stretchered to the hospital over there in London. I'm sure he's okay, but I haven't heard any update on that. So just a lot of scary things happening this weekend with concussions. They've got to take these things more serious because a concussion is going to last with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, like you mentioned, Tua had a lot of injuries in college, and those are lingering. But something with your head, you can't mess with that. So I'm glad to see that they held him out this week. But we mentioned the Saints. I pray for the Saints. We need some help. 1-3 so far. 2 games, or that game was a game of doinks, missed field goal by Will Lutz, 61 yards. Say what you want to say. The refs, screwed us out of it. We need to draft a referee next year in the draft. However it is to get us to win. Tyler, what must the Saints do to turn this season around?
I tell you what, this team looks very lost without Sean Payton as their head coach. I mean, I'm not saying that Dennis sounds like the worst head coach, but you could just see like it's just a different feeling, especially on the offensive side. I mean, just for 4 straight weeks, just been a slow start after a slow start. I mean, they got lucky, honestly, to win the first week. They should be 0-4. They got lucky in the fourth quarter against Atlanta. They came back, and then the past couple of weeks they just get blown out. I mean, honestly, the Minnesota game I know is close, but they were down, I believe, like 16-7 in that game. But Andy Dalton, played very well in this one. He had no turnovers, and then the running game without Kamara. I mean, Latavius Murray had a good game, over 70 yards and a score. So I know that, some fans are saying like, oh, we should tank. Well, the bad news is the Philadelphia Eagles have our first round pick. So It doesn't even matter what we do. So the Eagle fans are probably hoping that we, suck and, get like the number 1 overall pick. I know that Eagles fans on the network are hoping for that, but I think that the defense, they've been fine. I mean, they held, a Minnesota Viking offense, that's explosive to 28 points. But, it's just, I don't know, the defense. It's just this team is just so bad right now.
I mean, it's hard when you lose. Okay, the past 2 years, we've lost Drew Brees, who's the best Saints player to ever walk the face of the earth. And then you lose Sean Payton, who is the best Saints coach that they've ever had. And it's like you lose your identity like that. And I didn't expect to win a Super Bowl, but I expected something a little more.
I mean, this is a talented team. It just looked like there's no clear leader at head coach right now.
Right. And what do you I know the move to Andy Dalton was kind of forced considering Jameis basically has a broken back. But I liked having him in there. He's got a little more experience. He's a little bit of a passer. So he started off slow, but he got the game going towards the end of the game. And we ended up kicker woes. The whole NFL knows about it. I mean, Will Lutz hit a 60-yarder, perfect. And then this one double doinks off the field goal post and the side, and it just doesn't go in. So I don't know. Who do the Saints play next week?
They play the Seahawks. So honestly, I hate to say it's early, but that feels like a must win because guess who you have coming to the Dome after that? The Cincinnati Bengals. So that's a team, they started off 0-2, and now that they won 2 consecutive, especially against a good Miami team. So if you don't win against Seattle and Geno Smith at home in the Dome, then I mean, I could see this team going 1-5 to start the season if they don't win next week.
Cincinnati feels like a must-win for sure, especially since Seattle. That Cincinnati game is going to be rocking. You got everybody coming back to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and you got obviously the Saints fan in New Orleans, so that's going to be crazy. Did you and Wade get tickets for it?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you're going to be paying a high penny for those tickets.
Yeah. Well, honestly, mine go down, especially if the Saints lose again.
True, but it is Louisiana's Golden
It's going to be a Bengal takeover. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot.
There's going to be Saints fans in Bengals jerseys.
Yeah, they're going to have like split down the middle. They're going to like if the Bengals are winning, they'll put on the jersey, and then for whatever team who's winning.
Yeah. So another person who didn't have a lot of luck would be myself and my parlay I had this week. You helped me pick it, and it was so close. I should have stuck with the 3-team parlay. I had Arizona to win, Atlanta to win, Philadelphia to win, Green Bay to cover. Guess what? Philly starts off slow, down 14-0. I'm like, here we go. I decided to ride with the network. They're all a bunch of Philly fans, and it's going to bite me in the butt. Nope, they come back and win. Great. Atlanta, same thing. They're up 10-0. Browns come back. I was like, great. Atlanta's going to choke it away like they always do. They end up kicking a field goal as time expires to win the game. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the afternoon. Arizona. Kyler Murray has got to stop playing Call of Duty and start that. That's why it was in his contract. They came out and said it wasn't in there. No, that dude doesn't know.
I
It
get
doesn't
it
look like
now.
he's
I get
playing.
it why,
Yeah,
the film study was in the contract. This man's been too busy playing Call of Duty. I shouldn't have
he
drafted
does.
him.
He does not know what's going on that football field. But he turned it on there towards the end of the game, and they beat Carolina. Okay, we got Green Bay Packers at the time playing the second string quarterback for New England. Well, he gets hurt in the first quarter. Okay, they're playing the third string quarterback. He's a rookie, isn't he?
Yeah, rookie out of Western Kentucky. He broke Joe Burrow's passing touchdown. He
That's
had like
right.
66.
They go into overtime. The cover, they're favored at 9.5. And I'm like, that's a lot, but it doubled my parlay money. It doubled my odds to plus 900. I was like, okay. It's in Lambeau. They've struggled, but Aaron Rodgers, he's going to play good. We've got a third string quarterback for New England. What do? They take it in overtime and kick a field goal to win the game. So I hit 3 out of the 4 teams. I get no money, and Chet's betting woes are back down. So, but that's just a little rant I wanted to go on. Okay, Tyler's Fantasy Football Corner. We haven't done it in a while. You got anything for us this week?
Yeah, definitely some news, especially out of Denver, Javonte Williams. So it's looking like if you're a fantasy manager of Melvin Gordon now, Melvin Gordon has a fumbling problem. He
He
did
does.
fumble this past weekend against the Raiders.
5 times in his past
Yeah,
44 carries. he's
5
fumbled.
times. But honestly, I know that they're fumbling a problem, but he's going to be the RB1 now with Javonte Williams. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Denver Broncos do go out into the free agency market and try and get another, just to get some insurance and some depth, because, Melvin Gordon can't run it on every down.
Exactly.
So he has shown, the capabilities of that. And then Cordero Patterson, we saw today that he's on the injured reserve. So I would go ahead and
That hurts
scoop
as well.
Tyler Algier. He's the rookie running back out of BYU. He's pretty much, a do-it-all running back. He can, he's a pass-catching back, one of the best pass-catching backs I've seen in a while. And then he can also, run it. So, Atlanta's offense is really good. They put up 20 points in each game that they played this season. So those are the two really big news this week. But I know that you and I are on a losing skid. You're now probably going to be 2-2, and I'm over here, the fantasy expert, sitting at 1-3. My team's struggling as can be.
It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, Tyler.
Man.
It's rough, and I feel bad because in our friends league where I'm managing my wife's team, she's 0-4. So
Well, I was the culprit of that 4th loss.
Yeah, so we gotta figure something out. I told her, you know what? I've been trying to help. Like, here, let's start this person. No, I'm just gonna let her pick because clearly I know nothing. If we're 0-4, I know nothing. But it's funny you say Melvin Gordon owners. In our league where I have Cordero Patterson, which I have him in like 3 of my leagues, so that hurts. I have Cordero. He's on IR. He's coming out. I have Melvin Gordon sitting on the bench. He's going in. So let's ride with Melvin. Let's put some more pine tar on his gloves and let him roll. I wanted to ask you, I heard this on the radio. It was a pretty interesting topic. Who do you think's had the better season, Russell Wilson or Geno Smith?
Honestly, I hate to say it, but Geno Smith. Russell Wilson has not been cooking at all.
No.
Ever since he said Broncos country, let's ride, the Broncos have, not been good. They've lost this past week until 0-3 Las Vegas team. So what are they now? Like 1-2 on the season. They lost to the Seahawks on the road, and then they got the win in week 2. So now,
I think they're 2-2.
Yeah, they're 2-2.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I get lost with all the schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Geno Smith, he got the win, so I got to say he's having a better season so far. But I think that Russell Wilson, he'll get it going eventually. I just think that he has to build some more chemistry with his receivers.
So Seattle's looking like they made out like bandits on this trade.
Yeah,
because not only do they not have to pay Russell Wilson $250 million,
they get like 4 first-round picks.
They get 4 first-round picks. They got a pretty decent quarterback, Geno Smith, that's winning them some games. For I don't even know what his salary is. He may be working himself to a raise, but for right now, they are rocking and rolling. I heard so their defense is really what's keeping it in it. And if you think about it, this is back to like the Legion of Boom days where Russell Wilson was still developing. He was a good quarterback, but he still was figuring it out, and they relied on their defense and their running game. That's what's happening in Seattle right now. So I'm with you on that one. I think Geno Smith is having a much better season than Russell Wilson. And yeah, Russell Wilson will get it figured out, but I think at the end, Geno's going to have better numbers. So,
Yeah.
well, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You got anything else for us on the fantasy football corner?
No, I just feel like, this is like, the past couple of years, me, I've been at the top of the league. So it's kind of, interesting.
You're going to have to battle back here,
I'm going to have
Tyler.
to, battle some adversity. I think that, there's like three guys that I think that I can look at on my team. Alvin Kamara has been out. I texted you. I woke up late since the game.
Was in London.
Yeah, I was in London 8:30. But yeah, that Kamara, as long as he's hurt, then I definitely have an RB hole. I do have Melvin Gordon, so he's probably going to be put in one of my flex spots. But another guy, Jamar Chase, he was my first round pick. He's only had like one game in the 20s. Like I expect him, be like 15 plus, but he's been off and on. And then Kyler Murray is just, he's
Kyler Murray ain't Kyler Murray this year.
He's not the Kyler Murray that I've been drafting the past couple of years. So I'm 1-3, and now I have to face Jacob, who will also be 1-3. So that's pretty much the toilet bowl. Whoever loses that
battle of the co-hosts.
I mean, the Sports Scramble is on a losing streak. You're about to be 2-2. Jacob and I are 1-3, and then poor old Wade is about to be 0-4. So this is a rough fantasy year for us.
I think I'm 2-2 in every single league I'm in. I'm in 4, and I think I'm 2-2 in every single one of them.
Better than where we're all at, that's for sure. I'd rather get 2 wins and have 1 win right now. But I mean, if you look at our league right now, I mean, you'll probably have 2 teams that are 4-0. You'll have now like 3 teams 1-3. So I mean, I don't know. Like I just feel like this year in fantasy, like the only first round pick that's been sure is Cooper Kupp. All the other ones have been bust.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Jonathan
Go ahead.
Frickin' Taylor. What are you doing, man? What are the Colts doing? Why is Matt Ryan still the starting quarterback? Okay, put somebody else in. Put Jonathan Taylor in a quarterback and just let the kid eat. Now he's hurt, so I'm probably not even going to start him this week because he's going to have a limited snap count. He like sprained his knee or something. So I don't know. I just don't know what to do. I drafted him first. I should have taken Cooper Kupp. Listen to good old Cooper. But no, I got greedy. I went with Jonathan Taylor, and he's sucking it up. He had 2 points last week. He had 4 points the week before. I think he had 8 the week before that. The first week he had 20 points, and that's it. So, I mean, you got Melvin Gordon outscoring Jonathan Taylor. He's not even the running back 1. So he's about to be my running back 1 on my fantasy football team. That's all I had to say about that. But Tyler's Fantasy Football Corner, maybe we'll turn it around. It's brought to you by NorSpirits.com. Had to make the football one brought to you by NorSpirits since the Saints played the Vikings. The Vikings have great beards. So, Fantasy Football Corner this week is brought to you by NorSpirits. Head on over to NorSpirits.com. Enter promo code OCS for 25% off all your beardsman needs. My beard was looking thick. I had to trim it because it was getting a little crazy. But I've been using that beard oil. It's growing thick. It gets a nice shine. I know you got a little bit of goatee there. But we got to get Fletching on the beard oil because his Penn State Nittany Lions are just rolling, and he ain't going to be shaving for the rest of the season. So, Tyler, one last NFL football question for you. Way too early Super Bowl prediction. Who do you got?
Yeah, I know that a couple of weeks ago before the season started, we ran through all the divisions, and my Super Bowl winner was the Chargers. I really don't see a difference in changing that. I'm still going to roll with the Chargers. I know, the Chiefs are looking very good as well. They're probably like my 1A and 1B pick. I know that, the Chargers lost to the Chiefs. That was their lone loss. But I think still believe in Justin Herbert and this offense and their defense. He has been looking strong. I know they just gave like 25 points to the Texans, so that's definitely concerning going forward. But on the NFC, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I just feel like the Eagles are the best team in the NFC by far. I think that Jalen Hurts is playing like an MVP type level. And I think that their defense, especially with adding Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, just added to that secondary that was already loaded. So this is a loaded team. I think it's going to be Eagles and Chargers at the end. And right now, I have to go with the Eagles taking it all.
You're stealing my pick. You're trying to get some brownie points with the network.
Well, no, I just think that the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I mean,
yep, I agree with you on that one. You hear that, Old City Sports Network? All your Eagle shows, we're giving you love. We're buying into the Eagle hype train. I've got the Eagles taking on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, I agree with you. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC right now. 4-0. Jalen Hurts is cooking. I mean, let the big dog eat.
I did call that. Didn't I say that?
You said Jalen Hurts was going to be one of the best quarterbacks for fantasy this year.
One of the best quarterbacks in fantasy.
They're
all the
leading
other
the
ones.
NFL in rushing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, just all around a good team. Defense is looking good. I'm going with the Eagles taking on the Chiefs, possibly winning that Super Bowl. I mean, but if the Chiefs break out all those trick plays they brought out last night, that was a
Yeah.
heck of a trick play to the tight end. We got to talk about that. What did you see on that play? That was just awesome.
Yeah, that one play to Clyde was just
Yeah,
something
the
else.
little like
Yeah.
basketball pass into the end
Yeah,
zone.
that it was just like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's just Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what people are thinking. Like, I even saw like in the fantasy world, like people are like, "Don't draft Patrick Mahomes." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I don't care if some stick figure is their wide receiver or not. I mean,
He's gonna make it happen.
I just feel like this Chiefs offense is honestly not really skipping a beat with Tyreek Hill. I mean, they just put up 42 points, people, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers defense is not no slouch. They're a top 10 defense. So, I mean, this Chiefs offense and team is very legit. Obviously, their one loss is against the Colts, which, honestly, I don't know how they lost that game. The Colts are terrible. That's another
Jonathan
division.
Taylor only had 8 points in that game, too.
Yeah,
So.
but, the Chiefs are going to be a real deal in the AFC.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So that wraps up our NFL talk. We got a little sports headlines around the sports world. MLB, Shohei Ohtani signs a 1-year, $30 million deal. Largest deal for a player. I forget the term. This is a fancy word that SportsCenter was using. But he's a free agent next year. 1 year, $30 million. Do you think the Angels re-sign him?
I think it's going to be a hefty paycheck. I mean, you already have Mike Trout there, so you're going to have to spend a lot of money. I think that the Angels will be able to afford him. I think he will probably test the free agency market at some point. I know with a 1 year deal, it's called arbitration. I think that's the term.
That's the term, arbitration. Yes.
They put him down for arbitration, so he's going to be 1 more year. That's like a team that I just want to make the playoffs. I want Ohtani and Trout in the playoffs. Just this pitching staff has just
Trout
been
alone deserves to go to the playoffs. I mean, it's painful to watch. So, but yeah, continue on.
But I think the Angels would be stupid to not re-sign him. I think it's going to be like the biggest contract that we see in baseball because he can do anything. He's a pitcher. He's an elite hitter. So I think that this is going to be like arguably like the biggest contract that we've ever seen in MLB.
Does Mike Trout still hold the largest contracts, or has that been broken?
I think so, but we could see Aaron Judge break that in a couple of years.
They'll probably be cutting to him signing every time he goes to lift up a pen. Boom, Aaron Judge cam. Is he going to sign the contract?
Yeah, they're going to cut it whenever we have like a big-time matchup on ESPN.
Yeah. So, question you asked before the show, worst sports team chant. I'll give you mine. It rhymes with the company that just sponsored our football segment, the Vikings, and their goal. They look like a bunch of pelicans flapping their wings. Like, I only hate it because they did it after the miracle in Minnesota Miracle. The whole stadium's out there doing this, woo, woo, and they beat the Saints. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of the chant. Tyler, what's yours?
Mine is not just one sport chant. It's just the whole entire thing of this university is Texas A&M. I hate every chant that they do. They like freaking bend over and like, hey, like what are y'all doing? Like, I don't know. It's just a stupid thing. I know that a lot of people hate the Whoop Pig Suey chant, but I honestly like it. I mean, I like whenever like they call the Hogs. I even do it with them, and I'm an LSU fan. So
Texas A&M's got some weird traditions.
I think Texas A&M is just a weird place in general.
They call it a cult for a reason.
Yeah, well, I just don't get their chance that they do. It's
so we've got this goal, and then
hey.
So yeah, there you go. Worst chance, Texas A&M in the Minnesota.
We'll have to put that as a poll question on our Spotify.
I'll have to throw it up there on Spotify. Last little nugget, literally a nugget. The Denver Nuggets mascot, Rocky, whatever he is. I don't know what he is.
I don't know what he is.
He makes $625,000 a year to be a mascot. Sign me up. I'll move to Denver tomorrow. I mean, I could do whatever they want me to do. I'll do backflip, front flip. I'll do the skull chant in the thing. I mean, I don't care what it is. For $625,000 a year to wear a costume, for 80 something games. Not even 80. It's like 50 because half of them are, or 40 because half of them are
Yeah.
away. Yeah, sign me up. I mean, that's astronomical numbers. I saw something that's pretty sad. Is that's more than some people make in professional sports to be a mascot. So Tyler, I know you look for a job. Maybe you should hit up the Denver Nuggets and get in that mascot gang. So, but that's just some crazy numbers. But all right, that kind of wraps up the show this week. I'll throw the other ones because I forgot to last week. We flopped it Sundays and Mondays this week only since we had some people out of town, family in. Normally we have Sports Scramble on Sunday nights. We have college football coast to coast, which is Mr. Jacob and Tyler's college football show on Mondays at 3. And then we have SEC Talk still tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Wade and Tyler break down everything that happened in the SEC, give their projections going forward. A little sneak peek. I won the SEC pick'em last week at 11-1. If I wouldn't have been a dummy and picked Arkansas to beat Alabama. So, Tyler, as always, it's a pleasure. Is there anything I missed on our wide world of sports?
Yeah, I'm gonna plug in our Twitch. We now have a Twitch now. We were 5 followers away from affiliate. I was a former streamer. I streamed for like a year, but before you invited me to do this, but we are now on Twitch. The schedule is pretty much like what you see here on the screen. Sports Scramble Sunday nights, Monday nights will be college football coast to coast. Tuesdays will be SEC talk, but there's actually going to be more over there. Wednesday will be
content, baby.
Wednesdays will be our Sports Scramble gaming days. It doesn't even have to be a sport game or whatever game that we're playing with our friends. We'll be streaming that on Wednesday. Not really specific times, just whenever one of us gets on, we'll be doing that. And Thursdays will be my fantasy football hour. I'll go ahead and if you have questions, I'll do a little show together. So that'll be a little add-on. Then obviously we'll take a break. We can't do this. Can't create content every day. We got to take a break, especially for college football weekends. So Friday and Saturday will be our off days. So definitely make sure to go follow over our Twitch.
Yeah, we're going to start putting out more content. We're working on some hats maybe to be released to the public. So if y'all are interested in some hats, let us know. We'll see what we can do. Remember, we're going to put out a giveaway for a t-shirt on our Twitter. So you head on over to @SportsScramble4 to find that. But I mean, hey, we'll upload the audio to this podcast tomorrow on all your listening devices. You can tune in to watch us live Sunday nights on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Maybe we'll get on
We're
YouTube
everywhere.
TV somehow. Hey, Live Golf is paying Fox to be on the Fox Sports channel. So maybe we can do that with Fox too. We can have Live Golf, then the Sports Scramble podcast. I don't know. I'll work out the details. But Tyler, as always, it's a pleasure. Hopefully next week we'll have all 4 of our hosts. And till then, have a great one. Thanks, everyone.